You're listening to The Bird Bath. This episode of The Bird Bath is brought to you by Ignite Veterinary Solutions, the creators of the Veterinary Receptionist Certificate of Excellence, the VRCE. With more than 1,000 graduates and thousands more enrolled, VRCE is becoming the standard across veterinary medicine. Your front desk keeps schedules moving, systems running, clients happy, and business thriving. They make everything work. It's time to train them for it. Graduates of the VRCE report greater confidence booking appointments, 82% report higher confidence in financial conversations, and 80% remain in their role, representing a 50% reduction in front desk turnover. Make this the moment that your front desk levels up. Go to vrce.vet, that's vrce.vet, and use promo code BIRDBATH25 at checkout to get 25% off your license. Welcome back to the Bird Bath. Each week we scrape the surface of the news you need to know, so let's get into it. Top story this week is coming to us from the world of insurance. Trupanion. Trupanion had a great Q1 2026. And these aren't normally the numbers I expect to be giving you about insurance because it's always kind of a will they, won't they situation. But revenue was $384 million, which represents a 12% year-over-year increase for the company. Their adjusted EBITDA was up 42% year over year, and their adjusted operating income of $40.2 million was up 29%. Now, their subscription business is where a lot of big things happened for them. Their revenue was up 16% year over year. They have 1.1 million pets on subscription, and that's a 5% increase. And their monthly retention rate stayed steady at over 98%. Now, these are all great numbers if you're Trupanion. It seems like things are pushing in a great position for them. They're seeing growth in this. But what was really interesting to me was the category that they called other business. Now, these are the other companies in their portfolio that aren't the core business of Trupanion insurance subscriptions or insurance licenses or policies or whatever the word you call it is, right? They said that pets in other businesses were down 11% year over year. The CFO, Fawad Qureshi, said, "We expect growth for this segment to continue to decelerate as we are no longer enrolling new pets in the majority of U.S. states for our largest partner in the segment." Now, this was something that we heard a lot about insurance companies having just sort of an overall drawback on the amount of pets and the amount of things that they were doing. We saw companies leaving multiple states after wildfires in California and hurricanes in Florida and just sort of a real squeeze on the insurance space. And it seems like Trupanion is sort of pulling themselves back from that. Now, when I looked at who these other companies might be, they didn't ideally or directly put out who it could be, but Aflac Pet Insurance is one that's on the top of mind for a lot of analysts. That's powered by Trupanion. They launched that in late 2022, and they do a state-by-state rollout where Trupanion does the underwriting and the administration. There's also Care Plus by Chewy, which is handled by the American pet insurance companies, and it's administered by Trupanion. So it's one of these things that, where do we expect to see this? Well, we're expecting to see this probably on the Aflac portfolio. And the story here is that Trupanion's really walking away from this other business pet count to protect the margin and the underwriting discipline. That side of their business was 4% of profits on about 30% of revenue. So big things for Trupanion, and I'll be interested to see how this secondary rollout continues on. Speaking of rolling, some Homeward vets are no longer rolling out to mobile practices. Homeward Vets, which was run by Mobile Veterinary Specialists, which also goes by Moves, closed shop on April 30th. Moves CEO David Ho said after 7 months of operating under this structure, which was a franchise structure that Moves had put in place to get Homeward Vets up and running, he said, "We've learned that house call veterinary medicine is not well suited to a corporate model. Unfortunately, our overhead has proven too high relative to current demand. As a result, we have made the difficult decision to close all markets effective Thursday, April 30th. Now, it's impossible to do a story about a group of mobile practices shutting down without comparing it to the vet's closure last July. That was one that a lot of people were talking about. It was very abrupt and it happened sort of overnight. People showed up, they went to go out to their trucks and there were no appointments. It wasn't really something there was a lot of conversation around. And it seems like the conversation that Moves and Homeward Vets has done has been viewed as a little bit more transparent. So I have to appreciate the fact that they put out a statement. If you go to their website, it's the first thing you hit on. You don't hit on a 404 redirect like we saw with My Pet's Wellness and some others when they closed. So big things there. Taking on more about the topic there that David Ho said was, I do think they have an interesting point. When we look at what the structure of mobile practices has been, there have been many groups that have tried it, gone out of business, or have pulled back or eliminated that mobile side of their business. It's one that's potentially, and I guess maybe a business that works best as a small business with a solopreneur or with a few entrepreneurs or with the single doctor and multiple technicians, really allowing that to scale and grow. But the market economics of putting out a whole footprint of mobile practices or mobile veterinarians maybe just doesn't make sense. When I looked into the bird bath terminal, I found hundreds of mobile independent practitioners, and we were also able to find a few people that were operating multiple trucks and multiple footprints. But in most of those situations, it's a single DVM that's doing a great job utilizing their technicians in the field and utilizing the DVMs as sort of this hub to be able to allow them to scale. So will we see another mobile group pop up? I have to imagine, we never learn from our mistakes. We always think we can do them better, but we will see what that comes for. So for anyone that is looking or was sort of put out by this, Homeward Vets did put up a big announcement and a big thing directing all of their clients to Blue Sky at-home veterinary care. They were also, I thought, pretty interestingly open to transferring over any of the client lists and any of the Google pages or any listings to any of the practitioners that had set up a franchise in a mobile business with them. It seems like they really want to support them. Offboarding, they're offering severance, and a lot of, if you can make good news out of a bad situation, it sounds like they're really doing a great job trying to provide a soft landing so that people can continue perhaps to be those solopreneurs that built the vet industry into what it is today. Colorado Governor Jared Polis has signed a new law aimed at reshaping how dogs and cats are sold across the state. And a big move that supporters say will curb inhumane breeding practices. The governor signed House Bill 261011, and it will prohibit pet stores from selling dogs and cats beginning January 2028. The law also bans brokers or middlemen from reselling animals obtained from breeders. Supporters say the measure is designed to cut off the pipeline from what they call puppy mills, while still allowing responsible breeders to sell animals directly to consumers. Now, the law does not ban all pet transfers. Animal shelters and rescues can continue doing adoptions, and pet stores can still host adoption events as long as they do not collect a fee. Sales involving service animals, law enforcement animals, and certain hunting dogs are also allowed. So what the law is saying here is you can buy it directly from the person breeding the animal. You can still get your adoption done. You can still do adoption events as long as you're not driving revenue to a store. So they really want to cut out this process of people saying, let's have as many pets in one spot as possible and just push them through the sales process. So kudos to Colorado for this one. Colorado joins California, Maryland, Maine, Washington, Illinois, New York, Oregon, and Virginia with a ban on some of these things, some that are going into effect in the next year or so. And there's another half dozen states that have bills on their docket and over 500 local regions across 31 states that have laws on pet stores. They call them humane pet store laws. So we're starting to see this continue to trend and change across the market of how people are addressing the sort of commercialization of the sale of animals. So big things here. Continue following along for more. Finally, two stories from the education world. One is big dollars and another is new people. So UC Davis continues to rack in some big time donations. January of this year, Sandy and Joan Vale, the former CEO of Citigroup, gifted $120 million. It was the largest donation to any vet school ever. 80 million of it went to the small animal teaching hospital and another 40 million to the research side of things. And then just last month, a Bay Area tech couple, Kathy Chow and Kenneth Ho, added another $75 million, which undoubtedly makes it the second largest gift in the school's history, and they're going to be renaming the small animal hospital after them. So they're going to be plugging all of this into the $750 million veterinary medical complex expansion, which the UC Davis is planning to open in 2030. This is a big way for them to cement their role at the top of the rankings globally, and it's a really, really big dollar amount to see invested from private individuals into a university. Now, on the Oklahoma State University side, we saw some new things. There's a new dean joining the team there. Dr. Richard Prather was just announced. He's going to be taking over in June of this year, and he'll be the 11th full-time dean. He's going to take over for Dr. Jerry Ritchie, who was named the interim dean in November 2024 after Carlos Risco stepped down following the second OSU probationary accreditation from the AVMA COE. It was kind of a rocky tenure there. Dr. Ritchie has done a great job of helping OSU get a $250 million state appropriation for a new veterinary teaching hospital, on top of another $78 million that was set aside in 2023. So Oklahoma State University has gone from on some rocky ground, probationary accreditation twice since 2017, and now they have kind of made a big U-turn here. They brought in funds from the state showing them, hey, we need a vet college. We need to get people into the school here. We need people staying in Oklahoma and bringing the top talent to the space. And the interesting thing about Dr. Richard Prather is that he is a local DVM. He was an OSU grad himself in 1986. He owned the Ellis County Animal Hospital with his wife, Dr. Angie Prather, for over 30 years, and it was a mixed animal practice. He had 40 years in private practice, and he's really well entrenched in the Oklahoma world here. It's pretty different from the previous dean, who was from Florida and kind of on that growth in the academic track. They've now gone with a DVM from OSU who I think will see some interesting changes, someone that wants to really drive the growth of the local university. So big things across education platforms. And for more on these and other stories, join us by subscribing to our Substack. There's a link in the bio. And don't miss out on any episodes by subscribing and rating the show. For the Bird Bath, I'm Ryan Leach. See you next week.